Meil on nii kaugel, et meil oleks aeg alustada. Minu nimi on Vootel Hansen ja ma olen Inimõiguste Instituudi juhatuse esimees. Mõned sõnad tõlke kohta. Eestikeelne on 7. kanal, inglisekeelne on 8. kanal. 8 channel. It's English language. Ja mul oleks suur rõõm ja au tutvustada selle muuseumi, okupatsioonimuuseumi direktorit, kus me oleme. Palun, Meriliin Piipuu.
Tervist. Tere tulemast ka minu poolt. Welcome from me to everyone for the Occupation Museum. I hope you have a really nice day here and I'm very, very pleased that you all gathered and you chose this place to gather.
Thank you. Aitäh. Ja me oleme siia kogunenud Pärtlipäeva laupäeval. Bartoloomeus oli märter ja 76 aastat tagasi algas paljude inimeste märtri teekond. Ja me räägimegi nendest kuritegudest, mida sooritati nii kommunistliku kui ka natsionaalsotsialistliku ideoloogia nimel. Ja ma annaksin sõna justiitsminister Urmas Reinsalule.
Head Eesti inimesed, austatud külalised, dear friends from European countries. Ebaõiglus ei tohi võidutseda. Me kanname täna kollast linti, et avaldada toetust Eesti politseiohvitserile Eston Kohverile, kelle Vene võimud röövisid Eesti pinnalt ja kes mõisteti Venemaal 15 aastaks vangi. Me oleme täna Eston Kohverile toeks ja nõuame Venemaa võimudelt tema viivitamatut vabastamist. Täna meenutame kõigis Euroopa riikides ja kogu maailmas Molotov-Ribbentropi pakti aastapäeva, mis on kõigi totalitaarsete režiimide ohvrite üle-euroopaline mälestuspäev. See pakt avas tee teise maailmasõja tragöödiale ja selle tagajärgedele. Koonduslaagritele, gulagile, holokaustile, massihukkamistele ning eelkõige kõigele sellele eelnenud okupatsioonidele ja anneksioonidele. Totalitaarsete režiimide ohvrite üle-euroopalisel mälestuspäeval mälestame kõiki ohvreid. Me peame ühiselt vastu seisma totalitarismile ükskõik millisel ideoloogilisel alusel ja ükskõik millises vormis see ka ei väljenduks. Totalitaarsete režiimide ohvrite mälestus kohustab meid hukka mõistma nende režiimide tegude õigustamise ja heroiseerimise. Euroopa riikide ees seisab ülesanne toetada jätkuvalt, nii moraalselt kui materiaalselt, totalitaarsete režiimide ajaloo uurimist ja uurimistulemuste tutvustamist avalikkusele. Eesti rahvastiku kaotused Molotov-Ribbentropi paktile järgnenud sõja ning natsliku ja kommunistliku režiimi hävitustöö tulemusel moodustasid ligi 20% Eesti elanikkonnast. Inimõiguste rikkumine oli ja on totalitaarsete režiimide poliitika ja tegevuse lahutamatu osa. Liialdamata võib öelda, et kui kommunistlik okupatsioon oleks Eestis jätkunud veel inimpõlve, oleks see eestlaste hääbumise rahvusena muutnud pöördumatuks. Osa kommunistliku režiimi kuritegusid olid suunatud eestlaste rahvuse vastu ja need olid oma olemuselt genotsiidilaadsed. Samm-sammult on Euroopa ühendamise järel kasvanud arusaam kommunistlike režiimide inimsuse vastasest olemusest. Euroopa Nõukogu Parlamentaarne Assamblee on mõistnud hukka kommunistlikud režiimid ning Euroopa Parlament on oma resolutsioonis andnud hinnangu totalitaarsetele režiimidele. Just Euroopa Parlamendi ettepanekul tähistab Euroopa 23. augustil totalitaarsete režiimide ohvrite mälestuspäeva. Üle-euroopalist mälestamist korraldavad Euroopa riigid roteeruvalt ning sel aastal teeb seda Eesti tänase rahvusvahelise konverentsiga, mille eesmärgiks on arutada õiguslikku vaadet totalitaarsete režiimide pärandi hindamisel. Natsionaalsotsialistlik režiim sai hinnangu Nürnbergi rahvusvahelises sõjatribunalis. Tribunali harta hindas natsiliku režiimi tegevust läbi nende sooritatud kuritegude rahu vastu ning sõja ja inimsuse vastaste kuritegude. Kommunistlike režiimide pärandit Euroopas ei ole uurinud ükski rahvusvaheline asutus. See on tänaste eurooplaste võlg nende kuritegude ohvrite ees. Ohvritel on õigus nõuda õiglust ja õigusemõistmist. Hetkel on vastutus kommunistlike režiimide sooritatud inimsuse vastaste kuritegude eest määratletud üksnes erinevate riikide kriminaalõiguses ning ebaühtlaselt. Pean positiivselt osundama Poola õiguskorrale. Euroopa kontekstis on kindlasti tunnustamist väärt ka Eesti tegevus, kus mitu küüditajat ja teistes kuritegudes osalenud on antud kohtu alla ning mitmes Euroopa Inimõiguste kohtusse edasi kaevatud otsuses tunnustas see kohtuorgan Eesti kohtute otsused õigeks. Kuid siiski ei kuulu kommunistlike režiimide kuriteod kui niisugused täna ühegi rahvusvahelise õigusemõistmise asutuse pädevusse. 2008. aasta Praha deklaratsioonis sedastatakse, et me peame jõudma üle-euroopalise mõistmiseni, et nii natslikku kui ka kommunistlikku režiimi tuleb hinnata nende süstemaatilise terrori, inimõiguste rikkumise, agressioonisõdade alustamise ning tervete rahvuste ja elanike rühmade hävitamise ja deporteerimise järgi. Deklaratsioon sedastab, et tuleb hinnata paljusid kommunismi nimel toime pandud kuritegusid inimsuse vastastena, hoiatusena tulevastele põlvedele, nagu käsitleti natslikke kuritegusid Nürnbergis. Praha deklaratsioon nõuab selget ja ühest suhtumist totalitaarsetesse kuritegudesse ning seab ülesandeks defineerida ühine seisukoht kommunistlike režiimide kuritegude suhtes. Selle deklaratsiooni üks allakirjutajaid, tänase Saksa Liiduvabariigi presidendi Joachim Gauki ning endise Tšehhi Vabariigi presidendi Václav Haveli kõrval oli Tunne Kelam, kes on täna siin meie hulgas. 3 aastat tagasi korraldas Euroopa mälu ja süüme koostöökogu Euroopa Parlamendis konverentsi kommunismi kuritegude õiguslikust hindamisest. Selle konverentsi selge järeldus oli, et rahvusvaheline õiguskord ei ole piisav ning et on vaja riikide ülest õigusasutust kommunistlike režiimide inimsuse vastaste kuritegudega tegelemiseks. Mul on hea meel, et proua Neela Vinkelmann, Euroopa mälu ja süüme koostöökogu direktor, on täna meiega siin. Nii natslik režiim kui ka kommunistlikud režiimid piirasid süstemaatiliselt inimeste vabadusi ja rikkusid nende õigusi, mille kõige äärmuslikumaks väljenduseks olid ideoloogiliselt motiveeritud inimsuse vastased kuriteod. Need kuriteod on rahvusvahelise õiguse järgi aegumatud kuriteod. Totalitaarsete kuritegude ohvritel on õigus õiglusele. kommunistlike režiimide kuritegude uurimise ja õigusemõistmise praktika on olnud riigiti ebaühtlane ja ebapiisav. Ning siin vajavad riikide õiguskorrad tugevdamist rahvusvahelise õiguskorra kaudu. Kuid täna ei kuulu ei rahvusvahelise kriminaalkohtu ega teiste olemasolevate riikide üleste kohtute pädevusse kommunistlike režiimide minevikus toime pandud kuritegude uurimine ja süüdlaste karistamine. Euroopa mälu- ja süüme koostöökogu moodustas õigusekspertide meeskonna, kuhu kuuluvad doktor Albin Eeser Saksamaalt, endine Jugoslaavia tribunali kohtunik ning rida teisi õigusteadlasi. See töörühm on asunud ühesele seisukohale, et õiglus kommunismi kuritegude suhtes on võimalik läbi erilise rahvusvahelise asutuse loomise kommunistlike režiimide kuritegude uurimiseks. Nende seisukohtade pinnalt teen ettepaneku arutada võimalust sõlmida rahvusvaheline kokkulepe, millega asutataks eraldi riikide ülene asutus kommunismi kuritegude uurimiseks. Analoogiliselt natsismi kuritegude uurimise ja vastutusega. Tähtis on, et rahvusvahelises lepingus antaks selge juriidiline hinnang käsitleda kommunistlike režiimide kuritegusid aegumatutena lepinguga ühinenud riikide pinnal. Riikidel on kohustus pakkuda ohvritele õiguskaitset ja võimaldada kompensatsiooni üleelatud kannatuste ja sunnitöö eest. Kommunistlike režiimide kuritegude uurimine peab aluseks võtma Nürnbergi harta aegumatute kuritegude määratluse, käsitledes kuritegusid rahu vastu, sõjakuritegusid ja kuritegusid inimsuse vastu. Muu hulgas tuleb kindlasti edasise töö käigus arutada, kas rahvusvahelise lepinguga panna paika ka ohvritele õigusabi pakkumine, kaotlemaks kompensatsiooni üleelatud kannatuste ja sunnitöö eest, paika panna keeld eksponeerida heroiseerivalt avalikus ruumis totalitaarseid sümboleid ning ennekõike üldine kohustus uurida ühinenud riikide pinnal sooritatud kommunistlike režiimide kuritegusid, tagades aegumatud karistused. Täna 8 riigi esindajatega me arutasime erinevaid võimalusi õiguskorras antud küsimuse käsitlemiseks ja leppisime kokku, et Eesti koordineerimisel moodustatakse rahvusvaheline õigusekspertide töörühm, mis antud küsimusega tegelema hakkab. Võidakse öelda, et see on minevik, mis ei ole enam nii tähtis. On küll ja määratu tähtsusega. Esiteks, leppimise ja tuleviku ehitamise aluseks on õiglus. Rahvusvaheliselt siduvat hinnangut kommunismi kuritegudele pole senini antud erinevalt hinnangust natsilikele kuritegudele. Teiseks, see on elementaarne miinimum, mida saame teha ohvrite jaoks õigluse kehtestamisel. Ja kolmandaks, see on vajalik, et tulevikus ära hoida samasuguste kuritegude kordumine, aga ka totalitaarsete režiimide igapäevane heroiseerimine täna ja homme. Ka natsionaalsotsialistliku režiimi kuritegude uurimise, teadvustamise ning õigusemõistmise uus laine algas 60ndatel aastatel, kui oli tekkinud ajaline perspektiiv ja peale kasvanud uus inimpõlv. Selle ettepaneku elluviimine on keeruline ja raske ülesanne. Seda küsimust on arutatud palju akadeemilisel tasemel. Nüüd on hetk, kus peame selle küsimuse endi ja teiste Euroopa rahvaste ette asetama poliitilisel tasemel. Minevikuga leppimise ja tuleviku ehitamise aluseks on õiglus. Õiglusega ei saa kaubelda. Ega seda maha vaikida, vaid seepärast, et see on poliitiliselt ebameeldiv või läheb vastuollu aja jooksul kinnistunud ajalooliste narratiividega. Jõudu meile kõigile tänasel konverentsil. Aitäh!
Aitäh! Mul on au anda sõna Leedu justiitsministrile härra Juozas Bernatonisele.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank the hosts for organizing this very important conference. And I expect that today we will hear a number of new and interesting ideas. Since the time of our speeches is very limited, I will talk briefly only on 3 aspects and give some suggestions. So, the first aspect I would like to talk about is historical. As regards the proposed topic for today's conference on possibility to organize the second round of the Nuremberg trials, I would like to remind the participants of this event that these trials were already held in the year 2000. The Vilnius International Public Tribunal, which involved representatives of 24 countries, evaluated the crimes and genocide committed by the Stalinist regime. Therefore, the public trial has already happened, and it is probably necessary to emphasize that more often because the verdict of the Vilnius Tribunal was pronounced, and in our understanding, it was fair and based on evidence. Of course, the verdict of the public tribunal has greater historical and moral significance and does not oblige the states to prosecute and punish the persons who committed crimes. So, is it possible to transfer a similar process of investigation of crimes to a different level, I mean from a public to international level? That, of course, depends on the approach of all the EU member states. The second aspect I would like to note is geographical. As you most probably know, the events for the commemoration of this day has already taken place in Poland, Hungary, Lithuania, Latvia, and today in Estonia. Next year, as invited, Slovakia. Usually, mostly ministers from the Baltic states and the Visegrad countries participate in these events. This may give the wrong impression that only politicians of Central and Eastern Europe are concerned about that issue. Therefore, I would suggest to set up a task for ourselves in the future to organize the events for the commemoration of this day in Brussels. We, ministers of justice, could approach the Justice Commissioner, Mrs. Vera Jourova, by a joint letter regarding this initiative. If Brussels became an organizer of commemoration events of European Day of Remembrance for victims of totalitarian regimes, it would demonstrate that all Europe, not just a few countries, is concerned about this painful topic and would certainly expand the geography of participants. And the last aspect I would like to consider is political. The central focus of commemoration events of this day has been conferences on history. That is certainly very important. because only by remembering the lessons of the past we can build a better future. However, I think that this day should not be limited only to the condemnation of totalitarian regimes of the past, Nazism and Stalinism. When proclaiming European Day of Remembrance for victims of totalitarian regimes, its dimension was much broader, to commemorate the victims of all totalitarian regimes. I would like to say that authoritarian regimes have not disappeared, and every year we see new victims. Let's remember Chechnya, Russia's war in Georgia, and today again there is a war in Europe. People are killed in Ukraine by Russian aggressors. They are also victims of the authoritarian regime. Here I see a direct relation to our today's event. Therefore, we need to see that and join all forces to prevent new victims in Europe and to force the aggressor to stop military actions. Thank you for your attention.
Aitäh ja ma annan sõna Läti justiitsministeeriumi parlamentaarsele sekretärile härra Jānis Jeselnieksile.
Hello, my friends and colleagues. First, I would like to thank our Estonian colleagues and especially Estonian Minister for Justice, Mr. Urmas Reinsalu, for organizing this event and very kind and hot welcome here in Tallinn. It is very important that we continue the tradition initiated by Poland to come together on the European Day of Remembrance for the victims of Stalinism and Nazism to deplore the criminal Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and share our vision on how to deal with its consequences today. The Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai has said, "When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." It is our own responsibility to be this voice and make us heard in whole Europe. We have to stand up for the victims of the totalitarian communist regime, which must be declared criminal and culpable for its crimes against humanity. Unfortunately, we still experience the consequences of these past crimes today. Thus, we owe it to the past, the present, and especially the future generations that the truth and justice prevails and totalitarian crimes never ever repeat. Our countries share a common history, and to make our voice more powerful, our actions should be coordinated. Therefore, in the name of Latvian Ministry of Justice, I fully support the Estonian proposal of drawing up an action plan and assembling a working group to deal with this matter. This working group should explore the possibilities of organizing an international tribunal for crimes of the Soviet regime. In Latvia, last year, we amended our criminal law, criminalizing the denial and glorification of the crimes committed by the communist and Nazi regimes. In addition, we have established 2 Truth and Reconciliation State Commissions in Latvia. One to investigate the documents of Soviet KGB, and second to establish the number of victims and locations of mass graves of communist occupation regime, to collect the information about repressive measures and mass deportations, and to calculate the losses inflicted on the Latvian nation. I do think such commissions should be established in countries affected by the communist crimes, as they are doing very valuable work. I would like to conclude by saying that despite all the horror that both totalitarian regimes brought, they have not managed to destroy our nations. Exactly the opposite. We are today prosperous European nations, stronger and more united than ever. Let me remind that today we not only remember the horror and victims of totalitarian regimes, we also proudly celebrate the anniversary of the Baltic Way, a symbol of freedom and unity. Thank you.
Aitäh! Ja sõna on Ungari asejustiitsministril ja inimõiguste töögrupi esimehel härra Robert Rebašil.
Dear ministers, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the accountability for crimes committed by the communist regime is also the greatest concern to the politicians and the public in Hungary. It gives timeliness to the issue that at present there is also an ongoing criminal procedure for war crimes against a person who used to hold an important position in the government during the communist dictatorship. The Hungarian parliament have enacted several laws during the past 5 years so that some serious criminal offenses committed during the communist dictatorship should not be considered lapsed, and in this way the perpetrators may be amenable to law. In 2011, the Parliament passed an act on the prosecution of criminal offenses committed during the communist dictatorship. The law defines the conception of communist criminal offenses. Criminal offenses set out in the annex to the law are considered to be communist criminal offenses committed on behalf of the state party in its interest or with its consent under the communist dictatorship according to the criminal law in force at the time, and for political reasons no criminal procedure was initiated. Special limitation rules defined in the basic law of Hungary apply these criminal offenses. However, not only did the Hungarian parliament create the conditions for the criminal prosecution of the criminal offenses referred to, but also enacted an act on the National Remembrance Committee. This committee deals with retaining the memory related to the communist dictatorship by the state, exploring and researching the operational power of the communist dictatorship. It breaks down the prerogatives of the communist power holders and discovers the criminals who are still living among us. By having created the National Remembrance Committee, Hungary may achieve considerable results in elaborating its 20th century's dictatorial past. The Act aims at facilitating the research of incidences under the communism, and in this way it makes new strides to consolidate the rule of law, constitutionalism and democracy in Hungary. By the competent research of the previous oppressive regime, the National Remembrance Committee unfolds and makes the crimes committed by the regime as well as the activity and role of perpetrators public. Thanks to the new pieces of information, the pool of knowledge about the period will become more complete in the future. It is the interest of the whole society that the future generations should be given an objective picture about the history of their home country. Furthermore, that no totalitarian dictatorship similar to the communist regime should ever be created in Hungary, and the crimes of communism should never be repeated. Not only should the means of criminal law be used to unfold the crimes committed in the communist period, This conference also gives good opportunity to emphasize how important it is to reveal the serious violations of law which were committed by the communist regimes so that they should never fall into oblivion. The perpetrators should be impeached, and this should be an object lesson for the future generations. Thank you for your kind attention.
Aitäh ja palun Poola asejustiitsminister härra Wojciech.
Dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, after the fall of communism in Central and Eastern Europe, new democratic governments had to face the question of accountability of perpetrators of repression and human rights violation. Political pluralism as well as economic freedom have finally made it possible to openly debate on the post-war events and to review them in terms of law. In the Central and Eastern Europe, dealing with the past was less violent and brought lesser social and economic expenses as compared to other countries. I would like to stress that crimes committed by totalitarian regimes have been a subject of discussions in individual states, as well as on the international forum for many years, and their effect can be seen, among others, in resolutions of the European Parliament, the European Commission against racism and intolerance, as well as in the declaration of the OSCE Parliament Assembly. It seems that currently the main challenge to effectiveness of international law is not the lack of standards, but rather deficiencies of enforcement. I stress that because the right to the truth, which is one of the most important rights of any victims of violation of human rights, should be effective and practical, and not just illusory and theoretical. Individual justice and accountability for totalitarian crimes are essential components in the process of regional reconciliation for the victims and for the whole communities and states concerned. Hence, we must determine to narrow the impunity gap, and this is possible through increased cooperation, including in the area of transfer of information and evidence and recognition of foreign judgments. For the international cooperation constitutes, in fact, the necessary supplement of the national procedures, as the states concerned cannot fully succeed in applying justice when the alleged perpetrators are beyond the jurisdiction of the courts in third countries. Therefore, all the states need to be equally determined in fighting with impunity of crime perpetrators staying with their territories. Such persons should be extradited or tried in their country of residence. I want to stress that establishing the truth is essential in order to prevent such tragic events of the past from reoccurring. In this context, it should be emphasized that any attempts of denying crimes of totalitarian regimes or glorifying persons guilty of committing them are unacceptable. Moreover, we cannot allow that communist and Nazi crimes be relativized, justified, and even accepted. At the same time, I firmly believe that freedom is a value so deeply rooted in our states that we will not witness the revival of the totalitarian system. However, the phenomenon of radicalization of position and political beliefs, the manifestation of nationalism and intolerance by some Europeans, cause an anxiety and make yet another justification for cultivating the memory of the victims of totalitarian regimes. We should hope that our joint activities would contribute to limiting these worrying trends. We have legal, political, and educational tools at our disposal. The 23rd of August reminds us not only of the victims of murderous regimes, but also of the attachment to freedom and democracy, which is common to all Europeans and which proved to be stronger than violence and totalitarian regimes. As the recent history of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and human Via Baltica shows, this attachment can cause millions of people to stand hand in hand in their protest against totalitarian regime and express their love for freedom. Millions of those who have shared the same catalogue of fundamental rights. Thank you very much for the attention.
Aitäh ja sõna on Georgia asejustiitsminister härra Koša Lord-Kipanitsel.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's of course an honor to be here with you today. And it's not only symbolic that we are speaking in the chambers of this occupation museum. Dealing with the past, as we know, is not an aim in itself. Quite to the contrary. Understanding our past and dealing with it normally illuminates and informs the perceptions we hold and the steps we undertake at the present and for the future. After all, 1939 is not such a distant past, the context of which would be totally lost today. On the other hand, the so-called Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact has already been explored in so many ways that it's hard for me personally to add on much of it, except perhaps to one specific angle of it that I believe I know the best by virtue of being a public international lawyer. It's a truism in international law that it relies a great deal on international treaties to form a cornerstone of interstate relations. Throughout the Western diplomatic history, treaties have been increasingly used to bring in an element of stability and foreseeability in interstate relations. By the 20th century, if not before, fidelity to treaties have been considered as an essential element in the foreign policy of any state that considered itself to be playing by the commonly accepted rules. So what I propose briefly to offer you a brief sketch of treaty practices that both preceded and outlived the notorious pact. And to explore what bearings it has on retrospective justice. The Treaty of Moscow, signed between the Georgian Democratic Republic and the Soviet Russia on May 7th, 1920, including, amongst others, the provision whereby the latter unreservedly recognized the independence and sovereignty of the Georgian state. And we know what followed soon. In less than a year, the Red Army occupied Tbilisi in February 1921, forcing the democratically elected government of the Georgian Democratic Republic into exile. In the retrospect, we can say that lack of understanding in the role of small states in international relations that prevailed, in particular in the major international institution at the time, League of Nations, was largely to be blamed. As a matter of fact, the annexation of one of the first European-style social democracies elicited only a scant international reaction. Regrettably so, as 1920 Moscow Treaty, amongst others, served as an antecedent to the so-called Mutual Assistance Treaty that was forced upon Estonia by the USSR in September 1939. As the minutes of the negotiations leading to the treaty have been made public, we are able to identify that the same assurances were provided by the Molotov of independence of Estonia, and no threat coming from the Soviet Union to then Foreign Minister of Estonia, Karl Salter. So, and then, once again, in less than a year, in June 1940, the USSR occupied the next Estonia, and shortly after Latvia and Lithuania. To be sure that we are not discussing here some sort of merely historical infidelity to treaties, let me mention just two more examples. The ethnic cleansing of predominantly Georgian population of Abkhazia, Georgia, recognized by the OSCE summits successively in Budapest, Lisbon, and Istanbul, while reflecting the consensus-based agreement amongst the participating states, yet remains beyond the reach of international justice. The current example is Russia's military intervention in Georgia in August 2008. Once again, the international community did not spare efforts, and the hostilities were stopped as a matter of conclusion of 6-point ceasefire agreement between Russia and Georgia. The agreement is yet not fulfilled. Just to the contrary, we are facing challenges of many IDPs and also de facto annexation of the two Georgian regions. What the legal perspective that I just offered suggests that there is a past dependence in mass deportations, exterminations, ethnic cleansings, occupations, annexations, spanning from our past to our present in the 21st century. The failure of the past to let divide Europe between themselves and the appropriate independence of sovereign states has largely occurred because Nazism and communism were regarded as a local problem until they affected everyone. This time, we do not have the right to make the same mistake. This day, 23rd of August, is proclaimed in order to preserve the memory of the victims of mass deportations and exterminations. At the same time, as we believe, rooting democracy more firmly and reinforcing peace and stability in our continent. Hence, we have to adequately use all platforms and possibilities to break the critical link of the past and create new path dependence in strengthened rule of law, justice, and institutional democracy in our countries, including those ideas, what we discussed in the morning, how do we have institutional setup to address the crimes of Nazism and communism. History will not forgive us another mistake and failure, nor we can afford it. Thank you.
Aitäh ja palun Tšehhi asejustiitsministrit härra Petr Jäägerit.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, representatives of ministers and other institutions, distinguished guests, it is my honor to address you on behalf of Ministry of Justice of the Czech Republic. In past 25 years, pursued post-communist countries of Central and Eastern Europe different routes in order to redress their recent pasts. Among various methods of transitional justice, I can mention rehabilitation and compensation of political prisoners, property restitution, official apologies to the victims and condemnations of totalitarian ideologies, or lustration programs banning various communist officials from higher positions in public administrations of democratic state. Many countries also opened a wide range of secret archival collections and established dedicated research institutions. Combination of all these methods we can find even in the Czech Republic. When it comes to the question of reckoning with communist crimes, from the current perspective, it appears that the state, I mean the Czech Republic, from any reason, missed the right time to confront its communist past. Criminal cases tried in Czech courts can be considered as a result of individual and specific circumstances rather than a result of systemic approach. And, all lawyers know, more time you waste, the less evidence you can present to the court, but never is too late. I would like to mention that one of the most problematic elements, the question of jurisdiction, when holding communist perpetrators criminally responsible after a long period of time, has its solution. According to case law of the European Court of Human Rights, the jurisdiction of national courts over communist crimes is fully acceptable even when regarding the highest standards of fair trial safeguards. In my opinion, therefore, it is not exclusively the courts which represent the bottleneck of the system of criminal justice. I would like to suggest that we must not forget the authorities investigating and prosecuting communist crimes. There is no trial without prosecution. These authorities deserve the main attention and support from governments. Sufficient expertise of dedicated research institutions and open access to the archive documents of previous regime are absolutely necessary for prosecutors to submit formal indictment. With this experience, when supporting the concept of supranational court dealing with communist crimes, we should not focus only on establishing an authority with the decisive power, but we should also think about realistic means how to practically investigate both globally and locally. It is the concept of international prosecution authority that plays the important complementary role to the court. Because without new impulse to gathering and analyzing evidence, any new court becomes a lion without teeth. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, human justice has its own inherent limits. In the current world, there are new and new crimes against humanity revealing permanently. All of these perpetrators representing totalitarian ideologies and terrorist entities should be punished. In spite of the fact the nations of the world will not be able to bring to justice all of them, we should do our best to punish most of them. Thank you for kind attention.
Aitäh! Ja selle paneeli lõpetuseks on sõna Slovakkia justiitsministeeriumi üld- ja rahvusvahelise osakonna direktoril härra Michal Kotlarikil.
Dear ministers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, allow me to thank Estonia for organizing this important event. And I would like to apologize my minister and deputy minister for not coming due to their other commitments. Despite the fact that this meeting takes place on Sunday, it is important that we commemorate victims of crimes committed by totalitarian regimes, including the communist regime. We should do our best to educate younger generation about ideologically motivated crimes against humanity and about their causes, because knowledge is necessary to avoid mistakes of the past. As to the discussion topic of this panel, we agree that it is necessary to declare communist regimes criminal for their crimes against humanity. It is true that both Nazi and communist regimes systematically restricted people's freedoms and violated their rights. Or actually, we already did this in Slovakia. We reflected this in our criminal code, which provides for a criminal offense of denial of Holocaust and similar ideology-motivated crimes. And it reads somehow that a person who commits this offense, the person commits this offense if he or she publicly denies, questions, approves, or tries to excuse crimes based on fascist or communist or other ideology which suppressed rights and freedoms of other persons. So communist crimes are explicitly mentioned in our criminal code. Of course, it is not sufficient to have something in the law, to have this condemnation only in writing, but we have to put this into practice. And therefore, I would like to say a few words about the possibility of establishment of this supranational institution, which would or which could investigate and prosecute crimes of communist and other totalitarian regimes. First of all, creation of a new tribunal under the auspices of the United Nations could be quite difficult, and we should stay realistic. Such an attempt would be highly probably blocked by certain permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. We witnessed something similar lately, a month ago, when there was a proposal for the UN resolution to create an international tribunal to prosecute those who shot down the Malaysian airliner over the Ukraine. And this would be probably the result, of course, of any other such attempt at the UN soil. More feasible would be an establishment of this institution for the administration of justice, which would investigate crimes of communist and other totalitarian regimes by intergovernmental treaty. And this treaty, in our opinion, should be open, not limited only to EU member states, but should be open to any other member states which would like to accede to it. And of course, it is connected to many legal and technical problems, and such treaty and such an institution, possible future institution, would require a thorough preparation and study. And of course, we would support such study and such preparations. And specifically, we would like to use existing structures for this work. And I will use my privilege of being the last speaker in this panel, and I will skip maybe half of my speech because I don't like to repeat very wise words which were already said by other speakers. Maybe one more thing about the prohibition of communist symbols. In Slovakia, we prohibit the display of extremist symbols, including communist symbols, of course. But it is prohibited only if this serves the purpose of suppression of rights and freedoms of the others. And there is this devil is in the detail, as it is usually, that with Nazi regime and fascist regime, it's quite easy to prove that when somebody shows these signs, it is usually very often connected to the propagation of a movement which limits the rights and freedoms of the others. While with the communists, it's a little bit more difficult because, at least on paper and with their speeches, they, at least at the moment, usually do not invite the others to limit the freedoms of other persons. So the problem is that they did something else that in practice as they usually were speaking about or writing in their documents. So here it is where it is quite difficult, and well, how to cope with this, I do not have an answer for this. Coming to the end of my speech, allow me to underline that Slovakia considers this day very important, and as you know, Slovak people have suffered both under Nazi and communist regimes. And it should be our task to do our best to avoid repetition of totalitarian regimes in the future, so that our citizens can enjoy their fundamental rights and freedoms. By doing nothing, we would allow the evil to reappear. And actually, we can witness this nowadays. And these movements are also in the European Union. Both left and right-winged extremists reappear. And by doing nothing, we could allow a repetition of the past, which would not be very, very good, of course. And to conclude, I would like to inform you that, as it was already mentioned by Estonian minister, that the next year we would like to use the privilege of having the presidency of the EU Council and to organize this event. So preliminary, of course, you can already now put into your calendars that on the 23rd of August next year, this conference will take place in Bratislava, and we will do our best to organize it in a way that also the European Commission, European Parliament, and Western European countries will take part in this conference to commemorate European Days of Remembrance for victims of totalitarian regimes. Thank you for your attention.
Aitäh! Kuigi me selle paneeli lõpus ette nähtud ka lühikene küsimuste voor, on meie aeg täis. Ja praegu lähme kohvi pausile ja kui kellelgi on küsimusi, siis ma soovitan omavahel suheldes küsida. Aitäh!